Aloha. We've all had that one person in our lives who's nowhere to be found right when we need them the most. I'm not talking about the avatar. I'm talking about the Houdini Complex. So who is Harry Houdini? He was a magician back in the day who would be able to escape from any type of weird contraption that he'd put himself into. And so in the same way, there are people who vanish and escape when we require them to be there. Relationships require consistency, communication, commitment, and follow through for there to be health and for them to thrive, for people to come closer together and grow. When that doesn't happen, relationships go toward the side of dysfunction and they end up crumbling, so they're doomed to fail. Whether someone is incompatible with the other person, unavailable to meet their needs, or attempts to, but to no avail, relationships do not end up working out if people are not there enough and consistently enough. What happens is we all make mistakes. Sometimes we don't communicate clearly. We don't answer text messages or follow through on plans. That's human. However, there's a more extreme side of this kind of pattern and tendency that becomes a sort of complex where someone's constantly gone when we're looking for them. They don't answer text messages and just leave us on read. And when they make plans, they are not impeccable with their word. It can feel infuriating trying to convince someone else to love us, care for us, and show up to consider our best interests. What's even more so frustrating is if they make excuses, apologize but continue the behavior, or even gaslight and say things like, you're too sensitive, you're over controlling, or blowing things out of proportion, when all we want and need is simple love, care, follow through, and consistency, as well as that clear communication, which ensures relationships stay healthy and evolve. Things like ghosting for days on end, flaking when someone signed up for something that they said they'd do, and gaslighting can be so damaging to a connection that it can make it beyond any repair. We can find ourselves time and time again in these kinds of dynamics and complexes and situations, even though we promised ourselves we wouldn't put up with any more. We might have even attempted to set healthy boundaries with these people, and they may have agreed to honor those boundaries, only to continue that same dysfunctional behavior and pattern again and again and again. It can feel like you're going crazy. And you might be, especially if you're dealing with someone who has a personality disorder, such as narcissistic personality disorder. They may want to change, but they may lack the empathy altogether to understand how their actions are making you feel. Or they simply just don't care. And it's hard to see past the pink rosy glasses that we put on, the overlay that we try to project onto others of all these good qualities we see in them, and the actuality that we're denying that they aren't actually good for us. When someone's actions and words don't align, that is hypocrisy. That is them not being impeccable. That means they're unreliable. It's important to pay attention to this early on so that you can take care of yourself and make sure that you steer clear of the Houdini complex. If you're already feeling caught up in the Houdini complex with someone in your life, there are ways to get out of it. The first way, number one, is to pay attention to the red flags early on or right now. You might have noticed before this became a pattern how there was one time they didn't speak up about something, or there was another time where they said they would show up and they didn't. And perhaps you've been feeling like you have to convince them to get back to you with basic text message conversations that should be really easy and simple between healthy people, but with them feels impossible. Don't undermine these red flags and try to gaslight yourself into thinking it's all good. They had trauma, they went through abuse, they went through hard things in life, they're busy. Stop trying to excuse them. The next thing is to cut them out of your reality altogether. This is going to be hard because when you do this, they are going to retaliate, or they're going to put on a mask and pretend to be the perfect person who you wanted them to be all along. But don't fall for it. This is a way to keep you hooked and a way to get you back in. And as soon as you fall back in, that is when they're going to revert back to the same behavior they used to exhibit. This is called the intermittent reinforcement dynamic. It is super covert, hard to spot, and it can keep people stuck in relationships for years. The final thing to do is to set healthy boundaries, not just with other people, but with oneself. If you really pay attention to and notice what is the actual root of the issue in this dynamic, it's not just them or their behavior, but it's when we enable them. We continuously go back, cross our own lines, and go toward them despite all of the signs telling us that they're no longer good for us. If you're going to make ultimatums, it's super key that you stick to them, you do what you need to get yourself out into a better situation and continue, even when you're tempted. They will tempt you because these people are pro at doing what it takes to keep you in their lives and attaining the benefit that you provide without actually having to reciprocate or change their behavior. So next time you notice the Houdini Complex, which is enabled by society's text messaging, social media, technology, and distance between humans nowadays that wasn't previously there before, look at it at face value for what it really is. Don't try to sugarcoat things. See the person and situation objectively. If you weren't involved and they weren't involved and it was just two people and you saw the other person's behavior, what message would that send to you? Is that behavior of someone who respects the other person and considers them and cares for them? Second, do the things you need to do to cut them out. And third, keep those healthy boundaries going, especially when you're tempted to go back. Do everything you can to stay on your path and keep going toward healthy, available, compatible, and functional situations that will meet your needs, where people will not leave you on red, flake on plans all the time, and make excuses or gaslight you, telling you they love you while still doing damaging things. You're worthy of love and deserve people in your life who actually measure up to their words with their actions. I hope these insights assist you in steering clear and preventing the Houdini Complex in your life altogether. Thank you.